there, Tracy here with Not Afraid of Color with another video for Trinity Stamps. Let's go ahead and jump right in. Okay, so today we are going to be using the Layered Waffle 6x6 stencil set, and we're going to be using a Waffle Lot stamp set. So I'm going to be using the Waffle Lot words and the little cute little face. And here I've got a cream colored piece of cardstock here. This is actually a mixed media cardstock. And I'm going to lay this down onto my sticky mat and grab my stencil. So you'll see that I use both ink and oxide in this video. So I'm going to kind of offset my little waffle here. And I'm just going to lay it down on my sticky mat to make sure it stays stuck. And then I've got here some tea dye Distress Oxide. And I'm just filling in the holes with the tea dye Distress Oxide. And it doesn't have to be perfect because they're never perfectly browned unless you buy an Eggo waffle, in which case, well, I don't know how they fake those, but my personal waffles, no. They are all over the place in color, but I digress. Let's get this part filled in. And then I'll go ahead and lift the stencil and I'll put the second part, which is the little shadow layer. And what's cool is you can add your shadow wherever you want it to be. So I want my shadows to be over here to the right. And so I'll use some Vintage Photo Distress Oxide, and I will be tapping that off here. I don't want it too dark, but I do want it dark. So, because it's, the shadow. So there's that, and I'll just go ahead and fill in this shadow part. This could not be an easier card, friends, and it's so stinking cute. That's a beauty of stencils. So doesn't that look cool already, just like that? I love it. But listen, I like some raspberry on mine. So I'm going to clean my stencil off because I'm going to use it. I'm going to be using it kind of as a mask, and you'll see what I mean here in a minute. So I'm going to just lay my stencil right back down where it was. So this is the first stencil. And I'm going to flip this over just so it's easier for me to reach. And I'm going to take the syrup blob and decide where I want my syrup. And I'm going to fill that in with some seedless preserves in the Distress Oxide. So I love some fruit on my waffles, especially raspberry. So I'll just fill that one in. And I'm going to go ahead and lift off both stencils, and then I'm going to grab the shadow stencil and put it in the same place where it was when I originally used it. And then I'm going to put my syrup blob back down. And then I'm going to come in with the Distress ink in the picked raspberry, because I want this much darker, and the inks are darker than the oxides. So there, I've got everything kind of shaded the way I want. Now I'm just going to remove those extra stencils and just use the brush I have and just kind of lightly brush over the whole thing. Couldn't be easier, friends. So then I've got that dimension with my syrup along with the dimension with my waffle. So it's deeper in the little crevices, and we're going to do the butter and things. What I'm going to do is I'm going to fussy cut this circle out because it is my waffle, and I want to do a colored background. So I'm not asking for it to be perfect by any means. I'm perfectly happy with it the way it is. So the next thing I want to do here is I want to add some shine to my syrup. And in order to do that, I'm going to start with my white gel pen, and I'm just going to kind of add some shiny looking lines along the edge here. And what you're going to see happen is once I add the glossy accents, this syrup's going to darken down even more. And that's exactly what I want. So just adding these white lines as if there were a shiny edge, and that already gives it dimension. And then we're going to add the glossy accents, and we're going to add a lot of it. So I'm going to go around the outside edge here and just sort of fill it in. And Glossy Accents Friends is super easy to use if you've never used it before. And there's, I'm sure, other brands of the same type of product. This is just the one I'm familiar with. And all I'm doing is just kind of doing a back and forth motion and filling this in. And I do have this sped up a little bit. It does take some time, but it's worth the effort. So what I'm kind of doing is kind of pushing around the glossy accents that's already on there as I gently squeeze the bottle until we get the whole thing filled in. See, are you getting hungry yet? I'm getting hungry. I'd like a little bacon with my waffle, please. Maybe a lot of bacon, maybe a lot of waffles, extra raspberry, all the things, all the things. We just about have that filled in. Okay. Just making sure I have the edge filled in there. And then if you see a little spot, can you see that little spot there? I'll just take and dab it with my glossy accents to fill it in. And it'll close on itself. Now you want to wait for this to dry, ideally. So while I'm waiting for it to dry, I'm going to do my background, and I'm just doing random ink blending on here. So I'm starting off with the seedless preserves in the ink, and then I'll come over with the oxide. And I don't use my Blending Buddy brushes on my oxides. One of these days I'll have a set for my oxides, but I don't as of now. So this is very random, and then I'm going to just splatter water on here. And then I'm going to get this wet, the leftover ink, and splatter that some more and let that whole thing dry. And that's going to be my super simple background. But isn't that pretty? I just love that color. It's probably my favorite Distress Oxide color and Distress Ink color is these seedless preserves. All right, so I'm going to do my butter now. And I'll fussy cut that out, no big deal. I'm going to start with the squeezed lemonade in the Distress Oxide. And I'm just going to fill in the little space right here. Excuse me. Still getting over sick. You know how that goes. And then I've got the little shadow layer here. And I'm going to come in with, I think, some fossilized amber. Yep. And just do that dark area. There I've got my pad butter. I like a lot of butter on my waffle too. Yeah, as long as it's melty. Listen, I'm a breakfast person all the way. I would eat breakfast for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So now I've got the Waffly Cute, and it does have a standalone die for the Your Waffly Cute set. So I'm going to cut the letters out of this white paper, and I'm going to cut the shadow layer out of that kind of off-white that matches the waffle. So we'll get those done and out of there. Let's put this little heart back before I lose it, because that's going to be my MO. And I will cut these out off camera, obviously. I'm going to go ahead and fussy cut the butter pad out first, though. I don't want to get it dirty. It's typically, if I take something over to my die cutting machine, I forget to clean it. Do you guys forget to clean your die cutting stuff? I forget to clean it, and I'm like, what is that all over my die cut? And yeah. So I'll go ahead and get this cut out and out of the way. Super, super easy. All right, butter's ready to go. Let's get our letters going. And of course, I will cut those off camera. What I want to do here is I think I want to tape it down before I walk over there with it, but who knows. So I'm getting out my sticky mat here. And then I'll go ahead and cut those out. And then I'll get them stuck to my sticky mat. Then I'm going to use the Seedless Preserves ink to color them. Just makes life easy this way. And it makes sure that when you do it that way, it makes sure that there's color down the sides of your die cuts too, versus leaving a white edge. And then I'll go ahead and cut out the shadow layer. And once we have that cut out, I'll glue those together. what I've done is I've just laid some glue down onto my little mat and kind of spread it out with my finger, and then I'm just dipping my letters in the glue. And it's really easy that way. What you want to be careful is if your ink is still wet, if you're pressing down on those letters, there's a good chance you could get ink on your background there. So just want to be careful with that. I need to scooch this over a little because I need my little apostrophe here, which is teeny tiny, but I can see it. So there it is. And I'll just kind of, I'm not being too particular about how these letters are on here. And that's the fun about these kind of letters, is that they are designed so that you don't have to try and be perfect with them. See, I've got myself ink on my shadow layer, so I'm just erasing that. And then I'll go ahead and stick down the rest of the letters. I'm just grabbing with my tweezers because I can't grab these things with my fingers. It doesn't work, friends. Get my little F's on there. This is the cutest set. I just love this release. Okay, let's get our L. Let's get our E. Get our little Y. I'm running out of glue there, but I'm determined to get through the whole thing without pouring more glue. So let's get our cute down. Oops. Careful if you drop those. Drop that one right in the glue. Good thing this glue dries clear. Okay, and get our E, and there's that. Super simple, super easy. Okay, I've got my parts here, and I'm almost ready to go. All right, so got my mess cleaned up there, and I've got my waffle, and I'm going to pop the waffle up a little bit on that corner. But before I do that, I want to actually put the cute little face on this pat of butter. I had done one originally, and I didn't put the face, and it's cute either way, but the face just emphasizes the waffly cute part. So the butter's getting a face. And I'll just stamp that down with some black pigment ink. So you can do this with or without the face. And I don't know that the butter expects to have a face, but mine does. Look at how sweet that is. Now I could do a carry and color in the cheeks and put some freckles, but I think I'm just going to leave it alone. All right, let's get this stuff out of the way and put our card together. So I can tell you right now, friends, that my stuff wasn't completely dry, but that's okay. So I'm going to take my background and I'm going to glue it down to a card base, and this is sort of a cream colored card base. It's got a little bit of dirt there, but I don't think you're going to be able to see that once I get this laid down. So I'm just going to glue this piece down. And this was watercolor paper, so it's got texture to it, so I want to make sure I'm plenty generous with the glue. Yeah, it looks like enough glue. And I'll just get it comfortable there on its little card base. Lay it down. Make sure it's nice and smooth and flat down on there, so we can move on to the next steps. Now there's a little hanging over and I can't abide by that, so I'm just going to grab my trimmer and trim that excess off. You can always trim them off, so don't worry about that. It's typical, I usually leave a white space around, leave a border, but today I'm doing the full background. So we've got our kind of purpley spacey background, and then I'll pop up this waffle bit, which, by the way, was still a little wet. You can see I got a little fingerprint in it. That's okay. We're gonna cover that up. That's what embellishments are for. We'll put my little smiley butter down, and then I'll put down the waffly cute, And I just need to pop up one side of it a little bit. So I'm just kind of marking where I want to put foam tape. And I'm using the same thickness of foam tape that I used on the back of the waffle. But just a teeny tiny bit more. Right here on this side, and maybe I can get a little bit down on that Y. I don't want it hanging loose there and falling off. Trim off that excess. There we go. Now it'll be nice and secure on there. And we'll just peel the backers off and I'll glue that down. We'll add embellishments and this card will be finished. Okay, little glue, little wiggle room. Flip that over. Get it down here in the right-hand corner, kind of. And then I'm going to grab these raspberry colored sparkle spots, which I love. I think they're gorgeous. And I am going to, first things first, I'm going to get a biggest one. I'm going to cover where I just got a thumbprint. If you're doing something like that, it's a good idea to leave it a few hours to dry. But, you know, I was making a video. I needed to get it done. So now I'm just kind of randomly putting them on here, adding that extra sparkle and shine. Flipping them over because I want the sparkly side up. They sparkle on both sides, but there's a rough side and a smooth side, and I want the smooth side down. There we go, and a couple more over here, and that's that. There we have it. We have our waffle builder stencil, and I'm going to go ahead and add some glossy accents to my butter as well because I can, and it's gonna, you know, give it that extra shine. That's our card finished. Thanks so much. I hope you like this video. If you do, leave us a thumbs up and leave a comment down below. What's your favorite syrup on waffles? Do you like syrup on waffles? Do you eat waffles? Should there be bacon? That's the biggest question. Anyway, here's the still photos. Thanks so much. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.